A man dressed simply in a plain hoodie and worn-out sneakers stepped into the polished, glass-walled dealership. The luxury cars on display gleamed under the showroom lights, their sleek finishes reflecting the midday sun pouring in through the large windows. He walked in with purpose but drew no attention to himself. He wasn't here to stand out. He was here to observe. Lucas Bennett had recently acquired Crown Auto Gallery, a renowned dealership in the heart of a bustling metropolitan area. Today he decided to visit unannounced, blending in as a casual customer. He parked his modest SUV in an inconspicuous spot at the back of the lot and strolled inside, taking in the ambiance. The faint scent of leather and wax filled the air, mingling with the soft hum of conversations between employees and the faint tapping of keyboards at the reception desk. Every detail of the space spoke of luxury, from the meticulously polished marble floors to the glass cases displaying custom car accessories. As he approached, a cluster of employees near the reception desk noticed him. Their laughter softened to whispers, and their gazes flickered towards him, subtly assessing his unassuming appearance. Some exchanged brief, puzzled looks as though silently questioning what someone like him was doing in a place like this. Lucas, however, didn't let their reactions faze him. He moved with quiet confidence, his eyes scanning the showroom, not just the cars but also the people and the interactions happening around him. Out from a side office emerged someone with a commanding presence. A woman in her early 40s, clad in a tailored blazer and sharp heels, approached with brisk, deliberate steps. Her name was Cynthia Harper, the dealership's senior sales manager. Her hair was perfectly styled, and her makeup, though subtle, highlighted her sharp cheekbones and piercing eyes. The smile on her face was polite but tinged with a trace of condescension, a practiced expression she seemed to have perfected over years in the industry. "Good afternoon," she greeted, her tone professional yet cold as if every word was measured. "Is there something I can assist you with?" Her gaze darted quickly from Lucas's face to his worn sneakers and back again. Lucas smiled warmly, his demeanor relaxed. "I'm just browsing," he replied casually, gesturing toward the gleaming vehicles. His voice was calm, almost disarming, but there was an undercurrent of authority in his tone. Cynthia's eyes narrowed slightly as she gave him a once-over, her gaze lingering on his hoodie. The corners of her mouth tightened as she forced a smile, though the skepticism in her expression was hard to miss. "Our inventory caters to a very specific clientele," she said, her voice laced with subtle doubt. "Most of our vehicles require pre-qualification. Perhaps I could direct you to—" She was interrupted by another employee calling her name from across the room. Annoyed, she turned her head briefly but quickly refocused on Lucas, ensuring he hadn't wandered too far. "Are you suggesting I'm not qualified?" Lucas asked, his tone light, but his eyes steady. There was no hint of anger in his voice, just a calm curiosity that made the question land heavier than Cynthia seemed to anticipate. The question caught her off guard, but she recovered quickly, her posture stiffening slightly as she straightened her shoulders. "I'm simply trying to save you time," she replied with a strained smile, though there was a hint of defensiveness in her tone now. "These vehicles start in the six-figure range. I could recommend some options that might better suit." Lucas raised a brow but remained calm. "And what makes you think I'm not a serious buyer?" he asked, his voice steady and unbothered. Cynthia hesitated for a split second, the cracks in her polished facade beginning to show. She cleared her throat, attempting to regain control of the conversation. "I have experience recognizing potential clients," she said, her tone now defensive. "It's part of my job." Lucas nodded thoughtfully, glancing around the showroom. He approached a sleek silver coupe, its design bold and aggressive, exuding an air of precision and power. He ran his fingers lightly along the door handle, appreciating the craftsmanship, before turning back to Cynthia with a faint smile. "Nice car," he said simply. Cynthia's forced smile faltered. "If you're ready to explore options more suited to your needs, I'd be happy to assist. Otherwise, I must ask you not to touch the vehicles," she said, her tone firmer now as if trying to reassert control over the interaction. Lucas stepped back from the coupe, his hands slipping into his pockets. "Fair enough," he said, his tone still friendly. "Why don't we do this? Can you call the owner? I'd like to speak with them directly." Cynthia blinked, visibly startled by the request. "The owner?" she echoed as if the idea was preposterous. "That's not possible." The owner doesn't deal with customers directly. They're extremely busy people. Lucas smiled, pulling out his phone as casually as if he were about to order lunch. No problem, he said, dialing a number. I'll let them know I'm here. The room seemed to hold its breath as Lucas spoke briefly into the phone, his tone calm and unhurried. Cynthia watched, her confidence now replaced with visible unease. Moments later, Lucas ended the call and slipped the phone back into his pocket. They'll be here shortly, he said, his tone casual as if he'd just informed her of the weather. Cynthia's expression shifted to confusion, then disbelief. Who exactly are you? She demanded, her voice wavering slightly. Lucas met her gaze, his expression calm but firm. You'll find out soon enough, he replied, his tone carrying a hint of mystery. Minutes later, the entrance doors swung open, and a sharply dressed man in a navy suit strode in. His polished shoes echoed against the tiled floor as he approached Lucas with a broad smile. The man's presence commanded attention, and several employees nearby stopped what they were doing to watch. Mr. Bennett, the man said warmly, extending a hand. It's great to see you. Good to see you too, Alex, Lucas replied, shaking his hand firmly. His tone was casual, but there was an unmistakable authority in his demeanor now. Cynthia's face drained of color as she pieced the puzzle together. Mr. Bennett, she repeated, her voice barely a whisper, the realization hitting her like a freight train. Alex turned to her, his demeanor shifting to one of professionalism. Ms. Harper, meet Lucas Bennett, the new owner of Crown Auto Gallery. Cynthia's mouth opened and closed as she searched for words. I didn't realize, she stammered, her earlier confidence evaporating entirely. Clearly, Alex said, his tone sharp but controlled. He glanced at Lucas apologetically. I trust this wasn't the welcome you were expecting. Lucas raised a hand, signaling Alex to stop. It's fine, he said, his tone even. Today was enlightening, but I think it's time we have a conversation about how this dealership operates. He turned to Cynthia, his tone calm but firm. Let's talk about first impressions and second chances. The following day, Lucas decided to dive deeper into the operations of Crown Auto Gallery. He began with an unannounced visit to the service department. The facility, situated behind the main showroom, was a hive of activity. Mechanics moved efficiently between cars on hydraulic lifts, their tools clinking rhythmically against the backdrop of revving engines. The hum of air compressors filled the space, blending with the occasional beep of diagnostic machines. It was an organized chaos, but one that spoke of professionalism. Lucas's arrival went largely unnoticed until he approached the service desk, where a young employee named Mark was busy typing on his computer. Mark glanced up, offering a polite but distracted greeting. Good morning. How can I help you? Lucas smiled. Just here to observe, he said. Mind if I take a look around? Mark hesitated, clearly uncertain about granting such a request. Sure. Just be careful near the lifts, he said, his tone cautious but polite. Lucas wandered through the department, noting the efficiency and professionalism of the team. Mechanics worked with precision, their movements almost synchronized as they navigated the tight spaces between vehicles. As he moved closer to the waiting area, Lucas overheard a conversation between two employees. Their tone was hushed, but the frustration in their voices was evident. I don't get why we have to prioritize certain customers, one of them said. It's like the rest don't matter. Lucas paused, his interest piqued. He didn't interrupt, but made a mental note to address the issue later. For now, he continued his tour, making small talk with staff and observing their interactions with customers. He was particularly impressed by a mechanic named Sarah, whose meticulous attention to detail and genuine care for her work stood out. Her sleeves were rolled up, revealing oil-streaked forearms, but her focus was unwavering as she carefully adjusted the alignment on a high-performance sedan. As the morning progressed, Lucas returned to the service desk. Mark looked up again, this time with a curious expression. Find everything you were looking for? He asked. I did, Lucas replied, and I have a better understanding of how things run here. Thank you for letting me explore. Mark nodded, still puzzled by Lucas's casual demeanor. No problem. If you need anything else, just let me know. Lucas left the service department feeling both encouraged and concerned. While there were many positive aspects to the operation, The undercurrent of dissatisfaction among some employees hinted at deeper issues. He resolved to address them head-on in the days to come. His determination to foster an environment where every team member felt valued and every customer received exceptional service was stronger than ever.